Hi folks, Canadian Preppers. So it's an honor today to present the SAS Survival Tactical Bow. This thing is just a beast in all dimensions. Basically, it's something which is built to last forever. It's probably going to outlast me. It's going to outlast my kids and my kids' kids. It's built with portability in mind, so it's much smaller than other survival bows like the Primal Gear bow. It's lighter weight. It's more powerful. At 65 pounds, you're putting out 220 feet per second arrows with this thing. It's great because you can actually store the takedown arrows inside the bow itself. So let's explore the SAS Survival Tactical Bow in a bit more detail. And one thing I should say off the hop is that it's very well priced at under $200. This is something which is going to last forever and rival most, high-priced bows on the market, not just survival bows, but recurve bows, traditional long bows, and stuff like that. So let's check out the SAS Survival Tactical Bow in more detail. So I just want to go over the specs of the SAS Survival Tactical Bow. It's made of an aerospace grade anodized aluminum. It's very tough. It's very rugged. You can drop this thing on the ground. Probably wouldn't advise that, doing it intentionally just to test it out, because if the string snaps, you could get injured. But it's a bulletproof design. I don't at all feel that this thing can't sustain any sort of abuse. I've even used it to kind of hack down, dead branches and stuff like that, and I wouldn't recommend that. But just to kind of test the durability of it, it's a very durable bow. So this bow is treated prior to anodizing so that the paint is going to adhere to it a bit better if you did want to paint this camo, and of course it's non-reflective, so that's going to be good for concealment purposes. The bolts that secure the limbs to the riser are a high tension steel, so it's going to last a long time. Corrosion resistant bolts and retainers, a 316 marine grade steel there, and you're not going to have to worry about rust or corrosion, so that's pretty cool. In terms of the bow's ability to retain its power when strung for long periods of time, the manufacturer did a test where he had it strung up and drawn at 28 inches for a week straight on some kind of makeshift jig, and it actually retained its power entirely. You could leave this bow strung, for as long as you want and not have to lose the power. Now, I wouldn't advise you doing that just because you want to, save those limbs for when you're going to need them so that they perform when you're going to want them to. And of course, if it's strung up, it's not as portable, which is the whole point of this bow, is to be portable. Now you can see this grippy sandpaper type stuff here. I was kind of skeptical about that at first, about how well it would hold up. I haven't noticed any real wear in it. Now eventually that grit is going to get worn off and you may have to resurface it, but honestly it's a really nice thing to have there, to have that bit of grip. It also makes it a bit warmer to grip because you're going to lose a lot of heat through your hands with these metal survival bows in the winter time, which is something that's important in Canada. Obviously you're wearing gloves, but regardless it's still going to suck the heat out of your hands, so that little bit of grit there minimizes that a little bit. Now I did make the recommendation that you consider some sort of rubberized coating, which was perhaps not permanent but replaceable, so that when it did eventually wear off you could replace it, and that's something that they're going to consider for future versions of this bow, is just optimizing the ergonomics in the handle. But honestly, it feels really good in the hand. Like, it feels a lot better than the Primal Gear bow. I can shoot this thing all day and it's just a dream to pick up and just shoot. You're going to want to work out your traps with your rows, you know, your lats, biceps. Those are all muscles that are going to be involved in pulling a large pound bow like this. And it's great that it is a large pound bow because you're going to get more power, more feet per second. Means you're going to be able to hopefully kill larger game. Now, because there's no built-in shelf, it is ambidextrous. So if you wanted to just keep an extra bear rest there, if you had somebody who was ambidextrous, or if you yourself shot ambidextrous, there wouldn't need to be any adjustments made like with the primal gear bow where you have to switch the limbs around in order to make it ambidextrous. There is going to be a slight offset, 15 millimeters, I do believe, offset. So going to be a bit of an archer's paradox there. As you can see, it's not straight, obviously. So it's going to take some mental calibration on your part, getting used to the bow. It took me a while to kind of get used to that offset and compensating a few degrees to the right. And but you know, honestly, it shoots great and it's very intuitive. It doesn't feel like you know, a mechanical bow. It feels a lot better. It's got a bit more girth, just like a normal recurve bow would have, unlike the primal gear bow, which is kind of thin, so which reduces the ergonomics of it, because you want that nice grip on the riser. Obviously you're not supposed to grip the riser too hard. Actually, you're not even supposed to grip the riser at all, but you know, to carry it in your hand, it feels really good. In contrast to the primal gear bow, where it's just a few millimeter offset, you're getting a 12.5 millimeter offset here, which is kind of on par with most longbows that don't have a built-in shelf, or recurves that don't have a built-in shelf. I haven't found this to be a huge issue in terms of accuracy once you get accustomed to it, so you're definitely going to want to train on it to get your mind and body calibrated to that offset. Now, the great thing about this design, that in spite of the fact that it packs down shorter than the primal gear bow, it's actually longer. So the primal gear bow is about 58 inches, I think, when it's fully extended. This one is about 60 inches, so you're getting 2 inches longer, even though when it packs down, this packs down to 21 inches, whereas the primal gear packs down to, I think it's 23 inches. So you're going to be able to actually fit this into a day pack, and I'm going to show you how it can fit into a Rush 24 511 tactical pack, which is probably, you know, most packs are even a bit higher than that, a bit taller than that, but you can't fit the primal gear bow in a normal sized backpack. It's just too long and too cumbersome, which is the first thing I noticed about it. And I know some people are going to say, well, you could get the X-Spectre or whatever it is, that little thing. But honestly, this, once you see this and you put it next to the X-Spectre, it's like a toy versus a tool. And this really is a tool. This is something which is built to last a long time. The X-Spectre bow, you might get, you know, a few months good use out of it before the limbs start to warp, or before something goes wrong, one of the bolts breaks. I do think that that's, you know, I like its compactability, but honestly, this thing is something I would trust my life with. It's just that solid. It's that well built. And so one more thing I just want to add about the carrying case that it comes in is, as you can see, it also doubles as a quiver. And I thought this was going to be kind of tacky at first, but it actually works just like any quiver would work. I mean, you know, it's going to hold the arrows in there securely. It has an adjustable strap. I'm not that flexible, so it's, you know, it's hard for me to pull the arrows out of any quiver if I wear it like that. But you could wear it around the waist too if you wanted to, and holster it on the side there. But great little quiver and great little carrying case. So that's a great little addition to the package. Now, this thing on its own is good enough. You don't even need a case. You can just throw it in the pack. One thing I did find, which I'll show you in a sec, is that the plugs that go in the end here could stick in there a bit more securely. They stay in there, but there is a tendency for them to fall off, you know, over time. So that's something I would like to see improved. Just really minor improvements. The core design of this thing is awesome. So now the weight is another factor which is awesome. It only weighs 1 kilogram, which is less, if not on par with most recurve bows. I would say less because I have a PSC Mustang recurve bow, and that thing shoots like a Mustang runs basically, and it's about the same weight as this. It doesn't feel any different. The weight, it feels really good. Like, it almost feels lighter than you would think. So that really makes for fun shooting. You know, it doesn't make for, I felt with a Primal Gear bow, which is only 100 grams heavier than this. That is significant when it comes to holding something all day and shooting. Obviously, you're not going to be shooting all day if you're just hunting, but, you know, if you're target shooting with it, it's going to be much more pleasurable to use. Now, this bow's overall length is 60 inches. This is the 65-pound version. I'm not sure if there's a difference in the lesser pound versions in terms of the overall length. And the brace height is supposed to be 7 inches. I think it's a little bit shorter than it is right now. I'm going to have to twist the string a bit. You only get one string with it. There's a few things I would like to see improved, and they're really cosmetic things. They're really just accessories. I would like to see perhaps a couple holes drilled here just in case you wanted to add some accessories. Perhaps an extra bowstring, you know, one that was perfectly set to this bow so that you didn't have to twist it, because really you shouldn't have to do that, because that's going to basically weaken the longevity of your bowstring if you have to twist it every time. So also extra bolts, because unlike the Primal Gear bow, it's going to take some very minor assembly in the field. And I do say minor because honestly you can do it in 2 minutes. It's that fast. It's basically taking out one bolt, flipping a limb around, and putting the bolt back in. It doesn't require any tools. You can tighten it with a coin. I would advise putting a bit of tension on there because you don't want it to get loose, and that has happened where I just used my fingers to tighten it. It has gotten loose after about an hour of shooting. Nothing that you can't just quickly fix, but you're going to want to possibly put a bit of torque on there just to make sure it stays in place. But an extra bolt would be nice, because if you drop one of these in the field, you know, obviously you're screwed and you can't use the bow. It's inoperable at that point. So having an extra bow, throwing in perhaps a couple extra bear archery rests, you know, I think the manufacturer could do well to add a couple of those in there. Provide you with these aluminum arrows. Now, these are actually carbon arrows that I think I got from the Primal Gear company, and these are the arrows they give you. Now, I've shot this one a lot, so obviously I have to retire it because of fletching. I'm gonna have to fix that fletching, just glue it back on there. But honestly, they're great arrows. They're aluminum, so they're gonna be heavier, so they're not gonna fly nearly as well as the carbon. So personally, I prefer the carbon arrows. I think most people do, because they fly faster, they're more accurate, I find. The aluminum arrows are gonna last longer. That's the whole idea. And if they do bend, you know, you could arguably bend them back, although there is gonna be a stress point there that you're gonna wanna keep in mind for your own safety. You really want to check the arrow every time after you shoot it if something like that happens. But I would like them to offer carbon arrows as well, because personally I would prefer and trust the carbon arrows for hunting purposes more than I would the aluminum arrows, which are fine for target shooting, but you're not going to get the full feet per second that you will with the carbon arrow and the aluminum arrow. It's just too heavy. So, but it's they're still good. I still enjoy them, and they're going to last you a long time. I just personally prefer how the carbon arrow with the synthetic feathers fly, because they're just going to smoothly go over that bear archery rest there. And these rubberized fletchings, they kind of catch it a bit, and that can skew the trajectory of the arrow. So something to keep in mind anyways. So let me know what you think about these. If you want one of these, I'm going to post a link to the website. It's actually quite affordable, $179 to $200, I believe, depending on the type that you get, which is very reasonable considering that there's a lot of takedown recurve bows. Like my PSC Mustang was $250. This thing not only shoots faster than that, it doesn't look as good and perhaps doesn't feel as well in the hand, but I know that this is probably going to last a lot longer. The limbs are going to last a lot longer. This is probably going to outlast me. So for $200, you're getting a weapon that is going to last just a long time. It's going to take a lot of abuse, and it shoots up there on par with some of the best recurve bows out there in terms of the feet per second and the power that it generates. So that's something to consider. Survival archery systems packs down incredibly small into a backpack. I would strongly recommend it. And of course, one of the coolest features of all is that you can keep your takedown arrows inside this thing. I just think that that is so kick-ass. So let me know what you think about it, and leave your comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more great content. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.
Check out the Canadian Preppers Network blog, an excellent resource for survivalists and preppers.